So when I first started applying to jobs and internships during my first year at university, I applied with a clunky 3-page CV that no employer was ever going to say yes to. In hindsight, it's no surprise that I received absolutely no offers from any of these investment banking firms. That summer, I went and researched what exactly a good CV should look like. I spoke to other people who did get offers and also did some research on the internet to find out what the industry standard format is. So in today's video, I'm going to be revealing all that advice and teach you how to create the perfect CV. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So I think the first major mistake that I see a lot of people, especially when they first join university, make is that their CV is way too long. As I said, my own one was 3 pages to begin with. And I think that's just because people are fearful of leaving things out. They think that they need to cover their entire life story, and if they cut just a single thing, the employer will reject them. That's not the case. The employer doesn't actually have the time to be going through all 3 pages of a CV. They want to see something that's short, sharp, and to the point. So one really easy tip is to just reduce the line spacing in Word. By default, Word has quite large white spaces in between your different sentences, which you can reduce so that you can cover more content in just 1 page. But the more important thing that you should really focus your time and attention on is actually making your content more concise. What you need to do is critically evaluate every single line of your CV. And number 1, decide whether that information is actually relevant or important. And 2, you need to see if there's any way of conveying the same point in fewer words or more eloquently. The ability to communicate effectively and concisely is very important in any industry, but especially in the world of finance, investment banking, and private equity. That's because you've got to be able to communicate clearly the key points or key messages that you want to get across to your director, to your clients, or to external investors. So to help you build out this CV, I'd recommend that you follow this structure. It's the one that I and so many people I know use. So you want to start off with your education, and I do so in reverse chronological order. So that is, I start off with my most recent thing, that is university, and then work backwards, so A-levels and then GCSEs. And I want to give a quick grasp of the grades that I've received at each level, and also pick out anything that is particularly exceptional, whether that be a particularly high grade or having received a departmental award for something. You want to bring these things out because it is a quantifiable way of showing to the employer that you are ranking well and you're performing at the top of your peer group. So the next section of my CV is then my work experience. And again, I do this in reverse chronological order. So I'll do the most recent experience first and then the furthest away last. If you have lots and lots of work experiences, which is a very fortunate position by the way, pick out the most relevant ones to the job you're applying to, even if they were slightly further in the past. So for each of your work experiences, you need to talk about what actions you specifically took and what the result of those actions were. And you need to do so in a quantifiable manner. So this basically is the structure of I did X, it resulted in Y. And an actual example of this could be I redeveloped the website of the business, resulting in a 20% increase in sales. Do you see there that I've talked about what an action I have done, the consequence of that action, and I've put a number around it, a 20% increase in sales. So ideally, you can do something like that for all of your work experiences. You also want to be careful with how you portray yourself. Make sure that you don't come across too passive or as too much of a free rider where you're just part of a wider team that's done a task. For example, saying that I evaluated or I analyzed is a lot more powerful than saying I helped to produce or I worked on. The next part of my CV is on leadership positions, and you want to specifically bring these out because firms are looking for their future leaders. The things that you can mention here are if you've taken a leading role in a university society, if you've been a head boy at your school, or if you've been a captain of a basketball team or anything like that. In terms of wording, you want to follow the same structure as above in that you talk about what actions you've specifically taken and what the results of those were, paying close attention to the verbs and word choices you make. As a guide, the leadership and work experience sections should make up the majority of your CV. So if these sections are looking a little light, I'd suggest that you go out and try get relevant experiences to try bolster up your CV. And finally, at the end of my CV, I have a short section on additional information. And these could be things like any additional languages you speak, any programming or software that you know, any of your additional extracurriculars, things like that. It should be just a few lines long and shouldn't take up much of your CV at all. So if you follow the advice I've given in this video, you should hopefully be left with a solid one-page CV that you could confidently send to any employer and hear a response back from. If you'd like to see my actual CV and those of other members of the ASURE team that we've used to gain entrance into places like investment banking or consulting, be sure to check out asure.uk where they're available for purchase. Now that concludes the end of this video. Please let me know if you liked it, what else you'd like to see, and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot guys, and see you soon.